All right, hello everybody. Welcome to comics class. I am Brandon Pallas, here to teach you everything I know about drawing comics. Today we are continuing with our Simplified Anatomy series, going into the anatomy of the back. This is a very complex area. When I took the anatomy course that I took, the teacher stressed that the back, along with the forearms, believe it or not, are about the most complicated and difficult part of the body when it comes to anatomy. But it's really not that bad if you understand a few basic things. So we're going to go through it, and hopefully it'll help you all out quite a bit. But before we do that, we're going to go ahead and get into the warm-ups. So get your drawing tools ready to warm up along with me and to draw along with me. And here we go. So let's just start just a little bit like we always do, a little bit of C-curves. We'll just do a few of these. We won't do too many. I'm doing these kind of interlocking C-curves right here. This can be useful for various reasons. Take a look at other people's screens here. All right. Do some long ones. All right, and that'll do it for C curves. Let's go ahead and do some S curves. Get some different directions. Sometimes it's fun to make them relate to each other, kind of create like a pattern where they're kind of nesting with each other. We'll just do a few more of those. The horizontal ones are always a little more difficult for me, so I should probably be spending more time practicing that. All right. And that'll do it for S curves. Just a real quick warm up for those two. And now we're going to get into, I guess I'll just call them squiggles. This is actually one of my favorite ways to warm up. This is probably one of the main things that I do, which is just a little squiggle like this. I'll just go all the way across. Then I'll go all the way back the other direction. And you can try to like space it out or make it really tight. You can even make it kind of overlap. That's kind of cool. Just getting our hand moving, working on our lines. Do a little bit more of this. I'll go the other direction with these ones. Oh, can't do it. I can't do it that direction. I guess I need to work on it. Oh, man, that is so hard. Why can I not do that? All right, let me see. Oh, that's terrible. Okay, it's starting to come along. Nope. All right, well, that's something I need to work on. It's weird how
Feel this.
yeah, it's weird. It's crazy how much difference it can make just going the other direction. Um, so do a little bit more of that. I'll tell you one thing that's cool about running this class is that it's really making me kind of address some of my little weaknesses that I didn't realize were there. You know, the back especially, like the back is a difficult area, like I said, and there were some aspects of it that I wasn't really 100% on going into this week, and I had to do my homework, but feeling pretty confident now. You know, it was enough to get by when I'm drawing, but as far as teaching and having a system, um, you know, there were some things missing. So hopefully we're good to go now. Okay, now I'm going to do some zigzags. This is one of my other favorite things. So I'm going to start by doing just these like zigzags that kind of curve back. And then we'll do one curving forward. And then the real trick, and this is the fun one, is to just mix it up randomly. So curving forward, curving backward, getting taller, getting shorter, getting wider, narrower. And this is almost exactly what I do if I'm drawing like grass or something. It's just kind of this random back and forth zigzags. And you can just kind of train yourself to insert some randomness there, to be going one direction, the other direction, and to try to make it not mechanical and repetitive, but to just get some natural variety in there. Now I'll go the other direction, which is not as good for me. I guess most of us are probably going to be better going left to right because that's the way we're used to writing. All right, that should do for that part of the warm-up. Now I want to do a little exercise that is really good for developing your ability to draw three-dimensional forms. So I'm going to start with just an ellipse. We're going to put some rubber bands around that to give it some form. This could be like, this is like a head almost. And I'm going to really kind of take care at the edges to make sure that it's wrapping around nicely. We can ghost in some of the stuff in the back if we want. That might help us. And then what I'm going to do, excuse me, is I'm going to practice writing letters over the surface of this ellipse and try to kind of make them wrap realistically over this curved surface like an egg. So just pick some random letters, whatever you want. You can write words if you want. You can just pick letters or numbers, whatever. But the point is just to try to make them wrap on the surface of this egg here. Ren is writing, "Help me." I sympathize with that.
Feeling it today.
All right, let's see. Yeah, and this will just this is pretty hard, honestly, and it will just like kind of push your ability to sort of mentally model this shape. I'm going to go ahead and do another one. You know what? Actually, I'm going to do a cylinder now. And I'm going to do the same thing. Just like do some letters wrapping around this cylinder. Just do a little bit more of that. Let's see. Why can't I think of any letters right now? That's weird.
Just do numbers.
Yeah, that's probably easier. All right. that's plenty for now. But this is a great exercise to do by yourself. Just draw yourself a little simple form of some kind and just try to wrap letters or numbers around it. It'll really help push your mind to kind of understand this stuff. Um, so let's go ahead and get into the anatomy of the back. I'll do a quick recap of what we did before with the shoulder anatomy. So I'll start with a little gesture line, hips halfway, shoulders 2/3 of the way up that top half. Head goes there. Since it's from the back, I told you before the head takes up 2/3 of this space above the shoulder line. But from the back, since we're just dealing with the like cranium part, it's actually about half. And then we can put down like the jaw part in the front to take up that 2/3. So here's the acromion process. That's the bony landmark that everything kind of ties into at the edge of the shoulders. It's where the collarbone meets the scapula, the shoulder blade. And I'll put in a little bit of flesh here, a little bit of mass. Waist should be halfway. Okay, so here's the recap. We got the column of the neck. We got the upper trapezius running out in a nice little S curve to that acromion process. Just above the shoulder line here, we have the C7 vertebrae, the 7th cervical vertebrae. And then we're going to put in, could have done this earlier, but we didn't need to. We're going to put in the spine of the scapula and the medial border of the scapula. So it's just this little kind of upside down L. And this is going to be the key to the back. The shoulder blade is the key to the back. If you understand the shoulder blade, like almost everything relates to it in some way. So we'll put that in. The trapezius is going to kind of run along the spine of the scapula there. There is actually some part of the scapula that's up underneath it, but it's, it just gets kind of buried by all the muscle. And what's really important is the spine of the scapula there. Okay, so that's the recap. We've got the shoulders. I'll go ahead and put in the, let's see, I'll put in an arm bone here. We'll put the deltoid there. And the rear deltoid, now that we're getting into really dealing with the shoulder blade, the rear deltoid comes back and it attaches underneath the spine of the scapula, about maybe 2/3 of the way across the shoulder blade. It doesn't go all the way to the medial border, but it goes like about 2/3. So the deltoid ties into the scapula there. And this is about what we've covered before. When we covered the neck and shoulders, we covered all of this stuff. So now we're going to cover everything down below, the whole back area. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go about between the waist and the hips. I'm going to go down about 1/3, and I'm going to put another little line here. And then I'm going to put a little triangle that goes between like 1/3 and a halfway down again to the hip line, which is where the femurs attach. So this is another one of our bony landmarks. So the bony landmarks we're dealing with on the back are going to be the C7 vertebrae here. The C7 vertebrae here. The acromion process is here. The spine and medial border of the scapula. Also the spine itself. And then the sacrum, which is the part of the back of the pelvis that is right up against the skin. This is what causes the little, back dimples that you see about right there. And right at the bottom of this is where we're going to start to see the technical term is the intergluteal cleft. the more common term is the butt crack. That's going to run right about up to the bottom of this triangle. We're not going to deal with the butt today. I'm going to include that in with the legs because there's plenty to deal with the back above that area. Okay, so we've got all of these bony landmarks here. If anyone has any questions or comments so far, feel free to speak up and I'll answer. But otherwise, we'll keep going. So we've got all our bony landmarks called out here. I'll go ahead and let's see that there. All right. So we got the trapezius, we've got the shoulder blades, we've got the deltoids tying into the shoulder blades there. So now we're going to deal with, excuse me, with the lower portion of the trapezius, which is going to run kind of from the inside edge of the, kind of from that corner of the shoulder blade, and it's going to come down to a point in between, or like at the spine. Kind of just like that. And it'll land, this kind of varies on different people. Muscle attachments are different on everybody to some degree. They're always roughly in the same place, but there's going to be a lot of individual variations. So this will come to a point, in my opinion, usually a little bit below where the shoulder blades end. But again, that's going to vary. You can kind of make your own observations. So that's there. It is not actually connected. It doesn't run like, get a different color here. It doesn't run like right along the shoulder blade there. It kind of comes from the corner up here, and it kind of moves like on its own toward the spine right there. So that's the trapezius. We got this whole thing is one muscle. It all kind of fans out like around the C7 vertebrae there. And it can look like two muscles because the different areas, like the upper portion and the lower portion, activate very differently and can be developed to very different degrees. And it can look like two muscles, but it is all one muscle. So let me get that out of here. Let's put the trapezius back in. And when the shoulder blades, if you pinch your shoulder blades together, this will all bunch up. But also this isn't necessarily visible on a lot of people, depending on how muscular they are, whatever. Okay, so that's the trapezius. Next, we'll deal with the muscles that are on the shoulder blade itself. We don't need to go in depth here, really. But I will tell you that there is one muscle that covers most of the surface of the shoulder blade like this. And then there are two muscles called the teres major and the teres minor that run from the edge of the shoulder blade here out to up underneath the deltoid to high up on the upper arm. There's a small one here and there's a bigger one there. But in practice, you don't see much separation unless a person is really muscular and lean. So it tends to look just like one kind of tube running out to the underneath the deltoid. This can like bunch up a lot. If a person really brings their arm back strongly, this will bunch up into like a big bulge, especially if they have a lot of muscular development there. So that's the teres major and the teres minor. But like I said, we can mostly think of it as one muscle, one kind of mass. Next, and this is kind of the most famous back muscle, is the latissimus dorsi. This is kind of this is like wings that they attach under the trapezius, or under the deltoid there, a little bit below where the teres major attaches, and they run down like this, down approximately right to the sacrum here. They may actually attach a little bit to the outside. Here we actually have the iliac crest, the just like the bones of the pelvis that rise up a little bit above the above where the sacrum is, and a bunch of muscles are going to tie into that those crests of bone. The butt muscles are also going to tie into that on the other side, but we're not going to deal with that right now. So the latissimus dorsi is this long, wide muscle that runs. Let me get another color. Point out. So it kind of runs down here. It attaches here. It somewhere around over here. Let me take a quick look at an anatomy thing and make sure I'm telling you guys the right thing. Let's see. Yeah. So it's going to run kind of under the the bottom of the trapezius there. We won't see where it attaches to the spine, but it's going to attach all along the spine down here, and then run down here and attach kind of along the top of that iliac crest and along the top of the sacrum there. Now there's an interesting thing where down in this area, everything I'm kind of coloring in here, this is mostly tendon and fascia. So it's not bulging muscle like the rest of it is. So sometimes you'll see if a person, particularly if a person has very developed muscles, you'll see that you'll see a border here where the muscle bulges up here, but it gets like flat down here. That's all still part of the latissimus dorsi muscle, but it's just the fascia part, so it doesn't grow and bulge the way the the muscle fiber part does. So that's something you'll see when we get into looking at the reference pictures. You'll see that on some of the models. So let's see. We got the latissimus dorsi here. It kind of runs right underneath the scapula and right underneath that those teres muscles there. And that's actually most of it. That's most of what we're going to be dealing with for the back. There's one other thing, a couple other things. There are muscles called the rhomboids. Let me get another color here. That attach to the inner border of the scapula, and they attach to the spine like this. They kind of run up diagonally a little bit. And those help pull the shoulder blades together and up. And you won't see those much, but depending on the way the person's posing or whatever, you may see a little bit, because it runs underneath the trapezius, so you won't see most of it. But especially if the shoulder blade is like winged out, like this, you might see this muscle stretching across. That's something that like I said, it's very situational. Probably the hardest thing about drawing the back is dealing with the movement of the shoulder blade, because it kind of goes all over the place. It depends on where the arm is posed, and it just kind of slides all over the upper back there and kind of takes all of these muscles along for a ride with it. Excuse me. So there's that, those rhomboids there that, like I said, they attach to the spine here, but they go underneath the trapezius. And then finally, this isn't a muscle, but there's a fat pad back here that almost everybody is going to have like fat there kind of obscuring the muscles. Only like the leanest people, will not have that. And whoops. And you'll actually see like a cut here where you can actually see the external obliques like from behind. But like I said, that's very rare. We'll see it on, you know, some bodybuilders and stuff, but most people are, it's just going to be a little soft there. You're not going to see like some like real muscular definition. Um, if anyone has any questions on any of that, feel free to speak up. But I'm going to go ahead and just do a few more back drawings as a demo. All right, so spine. I'm not going to do the whole figure here. I'm just going to do just the back area. Okay, so put in some flesh. And I find for the back, for me at least, it's really important. This spine line here, this isn't really the spine. This is just a gesture line. So what I really want to do, I'm going to go ahead and take that out a little bit. And I want to make sure that my line of the spine is really tracking that surface and like, and that the form is really kind of coming through. So there's my spine. There's my acromion processes. And the first thing I'm going to do pretty much always is put in those shoulder blade bony landmarks, the spine and the medial border.
Do the shoulder blades go like halfway between the spine and the side?
It really depends. They move around a lot. They can, if you're pinching your shoulder blades together, they're going to move very close. And if you're extending your arms out, they're going to sort of slide around the rib cage and come forward. So the actual movement of the shoulder blade is kind of beyond the scope of what I'm teaching today. I'll probably give you a little bit about it, but I'm not really prepared to teach like specific like rules about it or anything. When we look at the models and when we look at some anatomy drawings, we'll be able to kind of see where the shoulder blade falls. But I guess I would say that I would say probably a little more than halfway. No, I don't know. Yeah, for a rule of thumb in like a kind of a neutral pose, I would say the medial border of the scapula being about halfway between the spine and the acromion process there is probably pretty good. All right, so C7 vertebrae. I'll go ahead and throw in those upper portions of the trapezius. From here, I'll go and I'll put in the lower portion of the trapezius. Little hint of the rhomboids there. Okay, let's see. Rear deltoid, covering about about 2/3 of the, or connecting about 2/3 along the spine of the scapula. Then we have the teres muscles, the teres major and the teres minor. Like I said, they're mostly going to look like one bulge. That's going to reach up to underneath the deltoid there. We've also got the oh, I didn't put in the sacrum. Okay, so from the waist down to the hip line there, I'm going to put a line about 1/3 of the way down. It can be a little more than 1/3. This is another one that just depends a lot on the individual. So yeah, about 1/3, and then I'll put a little triangle there. Not quite an equilateral triangle. I feel like it's a little bit taller than it is wide, but not too far off. So little triangle there. These are going to be where you get your back dimples. Then we're going to have the latissimus kind of wrap around. Make sure the latissimus really wraps around the rib cage, especially if the arms are forward. So make sure it's going to create like even though the muscle itself is kind of, you know, just one like curve, as it wraps around the rib cage, you're going to get like an S curve. So just be wary of that. Make sure that your you know, making sure that it follows the form overall. Let's see. And then the little fat pad there. The butt we'll deal with later. We'll just stick with everything above the sacrum here. We could put that sort of interior border of the latissimus where it starts to turn to fascia, and so we don't get the muscular bulging. All right, let's do another one. Try to get a little bit of a different pose here. Okay. And then I'm going to make sure that my spine, see right here, this just quick gesture line that I drew in, it comes out a little too far to the left. So I'm going to redraw it, make sure that it feels like it's actually running up the back rather than kind of up the middle of the body, you know? So let me put in a head here, just a brief indication. Column of the neck, trapezius, reaching down to those acromion processes. Put in the landmarks of the shoulder blade. Here I'm going to kind of put in like make sure we're getting some mass in the front here. One mistake I often make, I don't know if you guys would have the same issue, but I often find that when I'm drawing from the back, it's easy to kind of lose the mass of the front, where like if the body is turned to the side, it should be showing, and it's easy to kind of forget to make the front come out a bit there. But in any case, okay, we got the shoulder blades here. I'll go ahead and put some arm extending out. Rear deltoid covering 2/3, coming 2/3 of the way across the shoulder blade there. Those teres muscles reaching out. They're not always going to be big and bulging, but you will always see some flesh there. You basically, you know, the shoulder blade, like it kind of looks like this, right? Like this is the spine. This right here, that's the spine of the shoulder blade. This right here is the medial border. There's a part, you know, that rises up above that always gets buried under the muscle. We don't see that. And then, you know, this is the bony area, but we never see this either because this is always obscured, pretty much always obscured by muscle coming off of it. So put that, those teres muscles reaching off. And then from right below there, we will have the latissimus dorsi wrapping. Remember, wrapping over the. This is just like that egg exercise we did at the beginning, where you're trying to draw letters on it, right? We need to wrap the latissimus over the rib cage. I'll go down here and put in the sacrum. That should actually be down further. Let that latissimus attach. You can let it run straight down into this little triangle. That's kind of an elegant solution. Personally, it does. I think the latissimus actually does attach a little bit on the sac or the iliac crest there. But I think this is probably also another thing that varies per person. Exactly where muscles attach is there's a lot of variation between people. And then we've got the fat pad there, or if the person is super ripped, we're going to see the what do you call it? External oblique in the front. Didn't put in the lower portion of the trapezius there. There's the C7 vertebrae. And then what? Oh, you know what? I really neglected to mention, and this is bad, but let me see. There's also these spinal erector muscles. that run all up the spine here, like up to the neck. And there's a bunch of them. There's so many weird like muscles deep in the back. But the thing is, we don't really see these muscles really explicitly. But what they do is they create a bulge like this. They create thickness in these two like columns of muscle that runs up. So we won't see the borders of these muscles like we do many of the other muscles of the back, but we will see their influence. If a person has very well-developed spinal erectors, there's going to be this like deep groove in the middle of their back as the muscle like all just bulges up around it. So let's see. Ooh, it's getting late. Okay, let me just do one more. Just walk through the process again, and then we'll get into looking at the reference. Okay. Spine, hips, shoulders, head, put in some mass. There's the waist. Let's see. C7 vertebrae, acromion processes, put in the landmarks of the scapulas, column of the neck, trapezius. This is another one where I need to go in and make sure that my spine is accurate. Okay, so lower portion of the trapezius, deltoids, rear deltoid reaching 2/3 of the way across the shoulder blade. Arms in there. Teres majors, teres major and minor, teres muscles reaching out from the bottom of the shoulder blade up under the deltoid. Latissimus dorsi. Oh, hold on. Should have put that in first here. Sacrum. Latissimus dorsi reaching down to just aside the sacrum. Remember that this is where we're going to get those little dimples. Just so you guys know, the butt is going to extend a little bit down below the line of the hips there. We can put in that fat pad there, or if we want to make the person super ripped, we can see the external oblique there. We can put in a little indication of the rhomboids there reaching up toward the spine. And that is pretty much it. So if anybody has any questions about that, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I am going to go ahead and get straight into the reference. So let's take a look. Let's start here with this anatomy drawing where we can really see everything. So I will take a blue pen here. Okay, so here we see C7 vertebrae right there. We see acromion process. Other acromion process is going to be over here. Actually, this is really cool because we see on this left side here, we've got this is all the muscles, right? But on the right side over here, we've got some of the overlying muscles removed. So we can see like this is the spine of the scapula. The whole scapula like extends up to there, but all of this area gets buried under the trapezius. So spine of the scapula, medial border of the scapula. Here we see the spine of the scapula. The medial border is kind of buried, but yeah, it's kind of in there. We see the trapezius coming down. This. We can see the rear deltoid reaching most of the way across the shoulder blade here. There's the infraspinatus, which is just the muscle that covers the majority of the flat portion of the shoulder blade. We've got the teres major reaching out underneath the deltoid. And then we've got the latissimus dorsi. I don't know if I even said this, but often just called the lats. Reaching down, and you can see how it attaches to the top of that iliac crest there. And then right here is what I was talking about, where the muscle starts to turn to fascia and like ligament, tendon kind of material, and it doesn't bulge up the same way. So on a slim person without a lot of muscular development, you won't really notice a difference. But when a person has a really buff back, you're going to see like a cut there. Let's see. Yeah, that should probably be good for this bit. And then over here, we've got the spinal erectors. And like, look at how crazy this they get. This is not really relevant, but it's just kind of interesting how it kind of reaches like to these individual ribs and all of this stuff. But the main thing is we've got these two columns of muscle that are very powerful. These are what extend the back. You know, there's another one on the other side that isn't shown here. And these, you know, like I said, they're not, you're not going to see the borders of them so much, like the way you will with like the lats and the trapezius and everything, but you will see their influence causing this bulge to run up either side of the spine. All right, so let's go ahead and get into some of these people. All right. So this guy, let's see, there's the C7 about right there. Maybe a different color. All right, so he's got the C7 right about there. He's got the acromion process there. The other one's over there somewhere. We'll draw the whole spine here. Feel like the scapula is about right there. So this is cool actually, because like right here we can see the outline of the teres major. So that's reaching up under the deltoid. Your deltoid's going to come back to about there. And then we've also got the latissimus dorsi running back here. And you can see, like, you can really see the thickness. Excuse me. You can really see the thickness of that muscle. We don't really see a lot of the trapezius or anything like that. This guy's not very lean. He's not very muscular. So we don't see much of that. We do see the shoulder blade kind of sticking out in the back because the arms are forward. When you put the arms forward, the shoulder blades slide over to the side of the rib cage, kind of, and the medial border will tend to stick up from the back somewhat. Alrighty, let's see. Go to this gymnast kid. C7 right there. Acromion. Spines of the scapula, medial border of the scapula, trapezius. We can see the trapezius running down here. Look at how it kind of there's like a moat almost around that C7. The muscle just doesn't grow right there. It all kind of turns to fascia right here. Everything connects to this C7, but the muscle, it's like this little donut around it. We may be able to see a little bit of, I think that's some rhomboids right there. Not really sure. We can see the infraspinatus. We can really see the teres right there. Look at that. You can see the whole thing. Latissimus. And then here you can see some of that border where it's turning to fascia down here. Deltoids, rear deltoids going about 2/3 of the way across. Yeah. Another gymnast kid. You can really see, let's see, this one, we don't have that much of the back, but this one was cool, I thought, because you can really see the thickness of this latissimus right here. There's the shoulder blade. The teres are not really activated, I don't think, right now, but we can really see that thickness of the latissimus dorsi, which is cool. All right, here we got some full-on professional bodybuilders with ridiculous muscular development. So we'll get to see a lot of this stuff right here. Okay, so chromium processes. Look at this. C7, look at how it's just a little divot and just these mountains of muscle all around it. So that's pretty interesting. Shoulder blade, I think it's right there. Rear deltoid running 2/3 of the way. Teres major, deltoid, or not deltoid, lats, latissimus. And here again, we can see that border. Look at this right here, where it turns to fascia. We can see the lat, or the lower portion of the trapezius there. Here we can see a deep groove in the spine because he's got really thickly developed spinal erectors. We can't really, the sacrum is covered under his pants here. This, though, is a good example of someone who's really muscular and lean, and we actually can see that edge of the iliac crest with kind of muscles coming off it, the butt muscles coming off it below, and the external obliques in front of it. We're not going to see that on very many people, but we do see it on this guy. He has, look at right there, it's like a little just divot. You know, most people are going to have some kind of a softness there. This guy doesn't. All right, another one. Look at this. Look at this deep crevasse here where the acromion process is. These bony landmarks, they never have any flesh. It's just bone, no matter what. So we've got this guy built up insanely all around it. Same thing with the C7 vertebrae. Now I'm having a little trouble finding this guy's shoulder blades. I think it should be about like that. We can see the teres major running off it here, latissimus wrapping off of it again. That where the meat kind of stops right there. Trapezius reaching down here. Rear deltoid running 2/3 of the way across the shoulder blade. And another one where we can see this incredibly deep cut right here. No fat pad at all. Again, that's very rare. Right down here, actually, we can start to see the top of the sacrum. And you can see where the mass of the spinal erectors starts to build up right there, and we can see it just like come to an end right here. Let me get this stuff out of the way so you guys can see. You can see even like the little shadow underneath. And that's this part right. Let's see. Yeah, that's like right about here where these muscles starts to bulge out. So let's go back down here. Yeah, so there's that. Here we got another like old time strongman, and you can see how this guy, he's got all the same, he's not as big as these guys, and he's not as lean as these guys. So even though he's like a very fit guy, we still have a bit of a fat pad here. So let me just spine there. You can see the C7 vertebrae right there. Shoulder blades. Rear deltoid going 2/3 of the way across. Teres major running out to like upper arm. Lats. Okay, we've been through this a bunch now. All right, let me try to get a few different types here. Okay, so this woman here, check out this spine here. You can really see the spine sticking up. You can also see the sacrum kind of sticking up. Here's those back dimples I was talking about. You can see how that's right at the edge of the sacrum. We got the fat pad here. And like I said with the bony landmarks, when a person is very thin, they often protrude. And when a person is heavier, they often recede, while the flesh, whether muscle or fat, kind of swells up around it. This woman is not particularly lean or anything, but she doesn't have a lot of muscular development in the back here, so we can see those nodules of the spine sticking up. Let me just map this out. Chromion, spine in there. Scapula. It's an interesting shadow right here. You can really see the edge of the scapula. You can even see a little bulge right there where the teres major comes out. We can't really see the deltoid. The rear deltoid tends to be the least developed anyway, and this woman is not like particularly muscularly developed at all. So we don't really see it, but we know it's there. It's going to come to about 2/3 across the scapula. The trapezius, lower trapezius would be down there. Lats would come kind of down this way. All right, let's see. Alrighty. Okay, here's a very skinny woman, and we can see her the nodules of the spine sticking up like through most of the length of her back. You can even see her ribs running the whole way down here. So I'll map this out real quick. Chromium process, shoulder blades, teres major, latissimus is going to run down like this. We can barely see. Up here, you can see a little bit of the thickness of the latissimus, but down here it gets like totally lost. Even so, even though she's quite skinny, we still see like the fat pad here. Trapezius is going to come down this way. You can also see, I feel like, this area up here is darker because it's turned down and in shadow. And right here, it gets a little bit lighter because this is where the sacrum appears, and it kind of turns up a little bit toward the light. Let's see. If anybody has any questions or any comments, as usual, feel free to speak up. I'm just going to keep going otherwise. Alrighty. Acromion, C7 vertebrae, spine. I'm going to map this whole thing out. That's off the edge of the page, so I can't really do the bottom, but do all of this. Sacrum's going to be about right there. We can see the borders of the shoulder blade. Teres major reaching out. Rear deltoid's going to land about right there. We would have the lats running this way. This guy here, we can see some evidence of the thickness of those spinal erectors. We don't really see the trapezius, but it would be right here. We don't really see the thickness of it very much. Let's see. Right here, this is kind of a cool detail. You can see a little divot here and a little divot like here. And this is not the place where the muscle turns to fascia. This is just like, this guy doesn't have particularly developed lats or anything. But with his arms pulled back, the muscle is bunching up there. So we do see kind of like a thickness of muscle here that kind of goes away as it runs down this way. let me see. What else do we got? Oh yeah, okay. This one was cool because, we can't see that much of her back, but there is an interesting detail here. I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to, let's see, let me just get rid of this real quick. Check out the edge, the end of this latissimus dorsi here. And look at how, so it's like a broad, flat muscle. People often say it's like wings, but it narrows. It all like comes together into this small, round muscle that reaches way out to the upper arm bone there. So like, really look at that, like broad, flat, that then just turns into this little thick bundle, right? So over here, we can see on this woman, there it is right there. So she's got the whole broad, flat latissimus, but turning into this this little narrow, excuse me, this little narrow like finger of muscle almost. So I thought that was a cool detail. We can see the teres major a little bit. We can see a little bit of the rear deltoid. But I just thought that was an important detail right there. Let's see. Okay, this woman, she's kind of covered up, but we can see a bunch of good stuff here. So medial border of the scapula, spine of the scapula. We can see the trapezius kind of bulging up a little, C7 right there. We can see very clearly, actually, because this is largely because the way her arms are positioned. It's making the rear deltoid bulge up, and we can see it like on that scapula there. There's also the teres major here, bulging out above the scapula. You can see a little bit of the infraspinatus there. I can't really see the lats, but they would be in here. Sacrum starting about right there. But yeah, like on this picture, a lot of the musculature around the shoulder blades and stuff are visible. But on someone who's not like super massive, like the bodybuilders we were looking at before. So I thought that was useful. Let's see. Okay, it's getting pretty late here. We're not super late, but almost an hour. We'll do a few more. Let's check out this guy. Acromion, C7, shoulder blades. And you can see on all of these, like when the arm is up, the shoulder blades kind of swivel out. Like if his arm was down, the shoulder blade would be like this. But since the arm is up, it sort of swivels out like this. We can see the rear deltoid there, attaching about 2/3. We can see the teres major there, reaching out, rear deltoid. Sacrum. See a little bit of the iliac crest here. Latissimus is going to wrap around like this. We can also, on this guy, you can see a little bit of the mass of those spinal erectors. The trapezius is going to be in there. We can, I feel like, see a little bit of the rhomboids there. All right. Yeah, and then this guy, we can see a little bit of the iliac crest here, but even this guy who's pretty slim, pretty lean, he starts to turn to, you can see the fat pad here. It's just, for my money, this is one of the parts of the body that is just the least likely for you to like see like muscle cuts under it. Like it's just, you have to be so lean and muscular for that to be visible. Almost everybody has a fat pad there. All right, here more. Hip line would be about down there. On this one, I'm really gonna try to do the structure so we can like remember. Okay, so sacrum is gonna be about a third, a little more than a third. Probably never quite a half, but a little more than a third is fine. Right there. Let's see. Border of the scapula. So check this out. This arm is up, so we see the spine of the scapula swinging down, the rest of the scapula swinging out this way, whereas this arm is down, so we see the spine of the scapula is right up here. And this, so we can see how it pivots from this acromion process. All right, I will put the trapezius in. It's interesting because it's going to be bunched up on this side where the shoulder blade is up, but it's going to be stretched out on that side where the shoulder blade is down. Trapezius is going to come down in the middle here. We're going to, I think we see a little bit of rhomboid right there. I think that's what this shadow edge is. Teres major, rear deltoid. Notice again how with this arm up, the deltoid is activating. So we see a little bit of a, we can see a little bit of the bulge of the deltoid. Although here the arm is down, the deltoid's not activating at all. And since she doesn't have a lot of muscular development, we don't really see anything there, but we know it's there. Teres major running up under the deltoid. Latissimus also running up under the deltoid, coming down to here. Just to the outside of that sacrum. We see the fat pad here. We can see a little bit of the bulge of the spinal erectors. We can see how there's like kind of a deep crevice at the spine as the muscles that kind of bulge up around it. Now, a lot of this has to do with the pose. This woman is sitting up very straight. Her back is probably arched slightly, which means the spine is going to, that means those spinal erectors are going to be activated and they're going to be bulging up around the spine as compared with like one like this down here where, she's arching her back out a little bit. So we don't see any of that crevice. Let's see. Okay, it's a little bit after 1. I think that's probably plenty of examples, unless anyone has anything else they want to see or any questions they want to ask. If you do, feel free. Otherwise, we'll get right into the homework, which is going to be, as usual, just give me 10, just 10 backs. Put in the, all of the parts. Make sure you start with the bony landmarks, the C7, the acromion process, the spine and medial border of the scapula, the spine itself, and then the sacrum right there. And I will say that, the spine is pretty obvious. We all probably know more or less where the spine goes. So the things that are going to be the biggest deal are going to be the scapula, which, like I said, the scapula is kind of the key to the whole back. Like so many things relate to the scapula. And then the sacrum down here. And that should about cover it. Yeah, 10 backs. Try to include all of these details that I've shown you. And I guess that'll be it for today. So thank you guys for coming to class. I think next week we'll probably start with either the arms or the legs. So yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, guys. Whoops. And I will catch you all next time.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Brandon.
Thanks,
All right.
Brandon.
Thank you.